Welcome to the Customer Machine Podcast, hosted by Dr. Glenn Livingston and Yoav Ezer. Glenn is a psychologist and marketer whose companies have sold more than $30 million in consulting and has trained thousands of marketers across different niches and industries. Yoav is a programmer turned marketer whose companies have sold over $5 million in products and services. Together, they'll teach you how to systematically stand out, attract, and convert the best customers, even in brutally competitive markets. And now, here's Glenn and Yoav.
Hi, this is Yoav, and I have Glenn with me. Hello, Glenn.
Hello, and together we are
the Customer Machine.
Dun, 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 dun.
And we have Kristen with us. Hello, Kristen.
Hello.
So the object of those calls are to take a look at your website, at your business, and we're going to try to help you make it better. So would you mind starting by describing your business?
Yoav, you need to turn the screen on.
Sure. There it is.
That's better.
Okay. So you have our homepage up. Looks like. And so we're primarily a chiropractic office that offers care for auto injury and just regular basic chiropractic care. We do it through monthly plans or fee-for-service. We don't accept health insurance. And we also offer regenerative medicine procedure, which I coined the name EMTX Renew to describe the process.
What does it stand for?
I'm one of the, it stands for extracellular matrix.
Okay.
That's why I just call it EMTX Renew, because people do not understand what that is. It's along the lines of cellular therapy like stem cells, but because of government regulations and different things they keep saying about what you can and can't say, we can't call it stem cell. So we have to call it something that people can relate to, and we have to. I developed that name to develop a kind of a brand name for ourselves for what we do, because we don't just do a procedure. We do some other things with it. So that's
okay.
what I coined the name to be. It's not trademarked. Just the name that I'm testing to see. And
I'm not an attorney, but I think if you put a little TM next to it, because we used to run a company called The Name Works, which was trademarked. Yeah, and my understanding of trademark law at the time was that if you put a little TM next to it, as long as it's advertised across state lines, that you get a reasonable amount of protection, as long as there's nobody else that has that term. So you might want to do that.
Yeah. Well, I researched to find that, and no one was using it. And if you type that in, we're the ones that come up, no one else. Because I did some domain searches and different things to try to find what people were using, and that was not being used.
I think I'll go one step beyond. I think you have to use TM, otherwise you're open to people copying the name and using it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I put a TM on the. Gosh, we're being lawyers here, but we're not lawyers. But if it was me, I would put a TM on the name the way you have it now, and then I would also put a space between right after the X and the word renew. So it was two words, and I put a TM next to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So where are you located?
We're located in Utah. I don't know what all you need me to tell you, but the two things we're developing the most are the regenerative medicine and the auto injury. And my husband is a chiropractor, and I'm, his partner. I help him with the business. He has some specific credentials that help attorneys with auto injury cases, because of his credentials, he can go on the stand and testify, and there's certain documentation that he can provide with his evaluation and management of the case that help the attorneys to have the type of backup for the case to be able to settle well and settle effectively. That's what sets him apart from other chiropractors and the type of things that he does. He's just developing relationships now with attorneys that to help them understand how that makes a difference. Because quite frankly, no one in this area goes to trial because they just take what they can get, and the attorneys don't have what they need to be able to take something to trial or to get good settlement for cases, unless there's like some serious like loss of limb or something like that. They're really missing some components that they need. So a lot of it he has to do is train the attorneys about what the real impact of auto injuries are on people, what the real impact an injury has over the lifetime of someone, and depending on the condition of the case. So, they consider, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to make a side note, Kelly, that I have an old coaching client who is a personal injury attorney in California. He developed a bit of a specialty in developing persuasive visual presentations to win a trial, and he's got evidence that it does win a trial. And I might like to connect you to see if there's any if there's a conversation worth having about how you two could cooperate. But go on. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Is his name Jeff Bone?
Sorry?
Is his name Jeff Bone?
Nope, that's not him. That's not him. No. I don't know if I have the right to say his name in public, so I'll tell you afterwards.
It's fine. It's fine. No problem. Okay. All right. So,
Kelly, you know what I don't understand? How can chiropractors do stem cell therapy? I don't understand about that.
We have a medical provider that comes in and does the procedure.
Okay.
But because of my husband's expertise, he's taken a lot of training with MRI, and we've used this process in our office for quite some time. He has a real good understanding of how it can help someone in their spine and in their joints as far as how the connective tissue is rebuilt. So he basically needs a tech because he cannot do the procedure, but he knows exactly where it needs to go and what needs to happen. So we have a medical doctor that comes in, and we contract with him to come in and do the procedure for our patients. But basically the doctor is doing exactly what he tells them to. And he has a relationship with a doctor who's willing to listen to him, who believes, and understands how it works. So
okay.
that's how we do it, and we've had a lot of success with that. It's a more costly procedure, so it takes some time usually to develop or nurture someone into getting it done because it's new. There's not a lot of like research per se that they can go look up on this particular product and procedure. So,
but you said it's more successful. You said it was more successful. Could you elaborate on that? Is there any research that documents the success rate?
It would only be what we could say has happened in our clinic with our patients and with our testimonials. That kind of thing. We haven't taken like before and after type things. We don't have the financial resources to do a lot of that kind of stuff, right now because we're just in a growing, developing stage.
Okay, but it is an approved. It is obviously an approved procedure, and so there must have been.
It's FDA approved. I don't know what. It's not a covered procedure by insurance, so people pay out of pocket for it.
Well, what I'm really doing is fishing for facts that we might be able to use to overcome suspicion or mistrust.
Okay.
That's really what I'm doing.
Okay.
Yoav, could you scroll up a little bit?
Sure.
How much is a customer worth to you?
You mean what's their value over their lifetime?
Yeah. Roughly.
I would say, and I'm just kind of guessing, I guess $10,000.
Okay. And what's been happening so far? How are you getting people to this site, and how are they behaving? What's going on?
I've been doing some Google AdWords. Using
What kind of keywords?
Marshall. Well, I've been testing some. My most successful keywords have been for the stem cell, have been sciatica pain or sciatica nerves or that kind of thing. That's been the best one. And I have some testimonial from a patient that I've put on the website about her sciatica pain. It's just something that people, they'll hear it or they'll think, that's what it seems like in this area, and I've only tested these keywords in Utah, because Utah is quite frankly a real conservative market. It's not as well known to use regenerative medicine as like if you were to go out into California, because we tested some stuff in California with the people we were working with before managing our website, and they're real receptive and they're searching for that kind of stuff all the time. Whereas here, it's more condition specific, and it's more for someone who doesn't want to get surgery, who wants other options, isn't interested in continuing to take narcotics to manage their pain. They want to find some other solution. So
I know exactly.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know exactly what you should do now. I'm just trying to figure out how to tell you without breaking confidences. Keep talking a little bit. I'll figure it out.
Okay. We, quite frankly, we've had quite a few people come from out of state to come get the procedure by word of mouth. Because my husband's developed relationships with a few people, and they've come and had the procedure from Georgia. And because of that, someone came from Puerto Rico. And then because of that, we have a relationship now with someone in New York. And then we have some people here locally, and they had some friends from Indiana, California. Then we've developed a few from Wyoming. So they're willing to travel here to get the procedure based on the experiences that they've heard about from their friends. And my husband will actually talk to them over the phone and consult with them, several times before they make the decision to come. But he can go over their MRIs and everything with them over the phone and explain to them. The thing is, with most of these people, they don't really have a good understanding of what their condition actually is, because no one will actually even talk to them and really explain it to them in a way they can understand. So he'll actually talk to them and explain to them, this is what's going on. And he's so good at being able to see and understand because of his understanding of the anatomy and his training in the MRI readings, that people have never gotten this kind of information from their doctor. They'll get an MRI, they'll hear, yeah, you've got this, and then they'll say, well, your next option is shot, surgery, or here's some drugs you can take.
Kelly,
well,
I know what you should do.
For a while. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
I know what you should do.
Okay.
What you need to do are condition-specific webinars. So, for example, new drugless non-surgical treatment for sciatica, free webinar tonight, or even better, in person if they're local enough to come in person. free webinar tonight, and then put as much proof as you can on the page without angering Google or Facebook or anything, and you have to be careful about claims because they, yeah. And then your husband gets on and he makes the presentation, and he's a long Q&A session where people can ask whatever they want to, and you get them to come in for a free consultation after that. It'll cost you probably between $50 to $100 to, well, more towards $100 to get someone to come in person, more towards $50 to get them on. But they have to be condition-specific webinars. The presentation has to be altered for the specific conditions. Do some research into how much volume there is for, sciatica versus lower back pain versus neck and shoulder pain or something like that, and make a plan of attack from, the most serious conditions. There needs to be consideration for the ones that he's best at treating, to the least, and start running these condition-specific webinars and local events. And I've seen not stem cell treatments, but I've seen, I can't say a lot more, but I know for certain that would work. Well, I can't say for certain, but I'm as certain as I could be. It should work, yes. But I'm not pulling this. I'm not offering you something by the method of rectal extraction. I have experience, and I think that you would do well to try that.
Okay, and are you talking about $50 to $100 per lead, or are you talking about?
Yeah,
okay,
something like that.
Okay. And then, okay, so we were involved with this group that was trying to develop a 24/7 medical online service. Like now, every hospital in our area is now doing $49 per visit over the phone, and we were with a group that was developing that $49 per month, and we couldn't get it to go. And they were having some webinars just to get people to get some interest in that. And the problem they had was getting people there to the webinar. So that's what so you're doing something to develop the lead to get to the webinar, and you're spending $50 to $100 to get them to the webinar.
Yeah, I would be targeting them on Facebook in particular, maybe also on Google.
Okay.
And then to get people to show up at a webinar, it's kind of like a set of monkey bars. It's not enough to get them to sign up. You have to get them to show up. And so, yes, you want to put a little note you want to have a phone field and put a little note by it that says, optional, enter your cell phone and we'll text you so you don't forget. And if you work it out to text them before the webinar to remind them, you wind up going from a 33% show rate to about a 50% show rate. Right after they sign up, you need to have a link to put it in their Google Calendar, or a little video to show them how to put it in their calendar. Before the webinar, you need to send them something. Like you can have a little video on the thank you page that gives them a little preview of what they're going to learn, and you tease them a little bit. You don't give them an awful lot, but you tease them a little bit about why it's so much better than the other methods, and why they have to really set this reminder. You send them an email reminder, then you record the event and you send them the recording afterwards, and you have a limited number of free consultations, for 48 hours after the event that are available, and you send a couple of broadcasts to let them watch it and decide in the next 48 hours or 72 hours to come there. So you have to apply a good deal of motivation and sales pressure all the way along the way. But with a 10,000...
I understand what you're saying, because I've signed up to webinars to do webinars before, and I just don't know what all the tools are to get all that out to somebody. What the best tools are for that.
Yeah, I mean it's what shopping cart do you use?
I don't have a shopping cart because we've mostly just done point of sale when people come to our office.
Okay.
So I don't have a shopping cart. I don't have a I don't have an email. I was using Salesforce, but I've ended that contract because it was too much for what we needed at the time, and it was too costly. So I just been scaling back and repiecing back together by what we need.
Yeah, this is all being recorded, by the way, so you don't have to furiously take notes or worry that you're missing something. So what I'm going to suggest that to you and to the audience that on the customermachine.com very shortly there will be a resource page with recommended resources for, low-end technological businesses and high-end sophisticated marketing businesses. What you're talking about does not require an awful lot of technical expertise. You could use something like Aweber for autoresponder distribution. You can connect that to GoToWebinar or Google Hangouts, so that when people sign up, they get linked into both your Aweber account and your GoToWebinar account. GoToWebinar will automatically send out the reminders, and then you'll have the emails to broadcast on Aweber if you want to. You can either hire a techie person on, from Upwork or Fiverr or something like that to do this work for you at like $10 to $15 an hour, or it's not really that complicated. You don't really have to be a programmer to do it. You just have to study a little for an afternoon. And you can just you can talk to Aweber and GoToWebinar about how to do that. There's a company called Plus This that has a service that connects all the other companies together. So you can do it without programming that way, but then it's an extra $30 or $40 a month. So there are those types of solutions out there. You don't have to let the technology stop you. And in conversion, we tend to talk about what would convert people, and what's we know you don't want to slice a watermelon with a chainsaw. You just need a sharp knife, and so we're not going to recommend something that's going to, cost you $1,000 a month when $20 a month would do.
Yeah. Okay, so if we were to do those webinars you're talking about, we have on our pages on our website, free consult at the bottom on every page.
Or Kelly, it sounds like this all overwhelms you. You could get a marketing partner. There are people that know this stuff that, when you've got a $10,000 customer value, they would be happy to assist you with all the technical stuff and take a small commission or something. I don't think you have to suffer through all the technical things that are driving you crazy. I think you could focus on the strategy.
Okay. My name's Kristen, by the way.
Oh, can I keep calling you Kelly? I'm just kidding.
No, I didn't. Yeah, I heard you say Kelly. I was like, well, actually, it starts with a K, but not my real name.
Just call me Greg then. Just call me Greg.
Okay, Greg.
Okay.
Greg, that's the second time you've done that. Stop doing that, Greg.
I did that too?
Yeah.
I did that before?
Yeah.
Okay,
did you want to say
Yeah, I had a question when you've got a minute. So what kind of conversion rate can Kristen expect when people get onto the webinar, Greg?
Conversion to the consult?
Well...
Thanks for saying my name.
Kristen, once you get people on the webinar, if you can get between a 10 and 30% conversion to the consultations, I think you're doing pretty well. You might be able to do better, maybe up more towards the 30-35%, given how good your husband is at this and how serious a problem it is. I have sciatica, by the way, so I know what's going on here. So.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And what's the conversion rate, Kristen, when someone gets on a free consultation? How well do they convert into a paying client?
I have not done well at keeping the statistics, but I know that it just takes a while for them to convert. That's what I know.
Kristen, what I know from my chiropractor who talks marketing to me is that if I can get him a free consultation, he can make a presentation to that person, that 1 out of 3 of those people will buy a $3,500 treatment plan. So I think that's not unreasonable to look for. Maybe 1 out of 4.
So let's do the math. So let's take the worst case scenario and say that it costs $100 to get a person onto the webinar. Then 20% of those convert into a consultation. That's 500. Then 1 in 4 converts into an actual client. That's a $2,000 expense to get a $10,000 client. That's not bad. The math works.
Okay.
See, and it's kind of important to do that math because most businesses don't really know what the customer is worth to them, and they don't realize that there is a cost of acquisition. And if you want to be able to scale a business, it's not all about being brilliant with your words and images. Sometimes it's the math which really wins the business. Sometimes, you know, if you're the one who understands that you've got to put out $2,000 and maybe you don't get paid back for 3 months, but then you get $10,000 and you're willing to do that, and then you're willing to do that in scale. Sometimes it's that type of math which makes a real marketing campaign possible way over and above whatever we could do to optimize the website.
Okay.
The website improves the math, but.
Well, and I believe in statistics. I just have not had the time to implement them correctly so that we can make a good assessment.
Yeah, and it's
Kristen, I have a friend who says that as an entrepreneur, you can always expect to have a wall of shame. There are so many things that we can learn that would be really good for our business, and we make these long lists, but we can never get to them all, and so we all walk around with these walls of shame. And I've got a wall of shame, and Yoav has a wall of shame, and so welcome to the club.
Oh, thanks. Don't feel so bad, huh?
no, not at all. Just move forward.
So, okay, I got a question. As far as I have a little training thing that I'm doing on how to do LinkedIn, reach out to some professionals through LinkedIn, and I was trying to do that on my husband's behalf to reach out to some attorneys.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you have? I know that he can set up some type of webinar or seminar himself for an expert to come in and talk to these attorneys and kind of help train them. But at some point, we have to develop a relationship with these attorneys so they'll want to be part of this and they'll want to learn about it. Ultimately, we're helping them, and we expect that we would get referrals of patients in our area. That's ultimate. So, yeah, I mean.
Let me just make sure I understand. The idea is to train the attorneys about about how to. I don't understand.
About how to win cases.
Okay, well, they don't understand all the dynamics involved in a car injury or an auto injury and how it affects someone long term, because they don't understand the anatomy, and they don't understand that there is a certain disability that occurs when your ligaments are affected in a whiplash. So in order for them to be able to present a case that's going to help them have a higher return, have a higher settlement, they have to have some understanding of it, and they have to believe it to some extent so that they can explain it when they go to trial. And they have to have someone who manages the case properly. It used to be that they could send the patient to different places and get some medical opinion here and there, but now, unless a medical doctor is trained or a chiropractor or a physical therapist has certain training and credentials in these type of impacts and how they affect someone, and they document it correctly, they're not they're not going to be able to win the cases like they were before. Now, sure, if somebody, it's still like if someone loses a limb, that's not a problem for anyone. But where these soft tissue cases come into play, they don't have the documentation or the expertise to be able to settle for any reasonable amount for a patient for a long term. So where they once they understand that, then they have the confidence, they grasp onto that knowledge, and they can go and deal with the insurance company adjusters, and they can usually either get a better settlement or be confident to go to trial. Most of them don't want to go to trial because they're not confident in what they have to be able to back up what they're doing, what they're asking for.
Mm-hmm.
So you can dramatically improve the strength of an attorney's case by giving them anatomical knowledge and presentation skills.
And a credentialed provider who can go to trial so that they have the confidence. Because even a lot of the adjusters, you said something about that attorney that you're talking about. Not very long ago, my husband developed an attorney who's moving here from California because he said, I'm going to work on a personal injury client here in Utah because there's not a lot of people are not doing it effectively. And just before that, my husband had completed these credentials that give him that kind of status where he can do that. So this attorney wants to work with him exclusively, and he's going to open up like 3 or 4 offices in this area. So he came in and he said, what I usually have to do is teach these chiropractors what they need to do. He said, I teach a lot of chiropractors in California what I need for them to document in order for me to take the case. And he says, I do go to trial. And in California, the adjusters know me, and they don't want to go to trial with me most of the time now. They'll settle for what I ask for because they know I have what I need to make.
That's great. That's great.
So he said, so he comes to Utah, and he said to him, he says, my husband starts teaching him things that he didn't know, and he goes, wait a minute, you're teaching me things I didn't know, and these are the things I usually have to teach the chiropractor. So I want to work with you, and we're gonna do this here in Utah. So I'm just saying, it's just, this is an attorney who has a lot of experience and has been doing this for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking for a way.
Very powerful.
You're looking for a way to connect with more attorneys.
Yeah, with more attorneys in Utah, because he's developing his this other attorney. I'm sure it won't take him long to develop what he's doing, but he's just getting started here in Utah.
Right. So here's an idea. Attorneys are pretty easy to get to if you know how. And one excellent way of connecting with attorneys is going to BNI meetings. Are you familiar with BNI? The Business Networking BNI International. So it's a small business networking group. They're found all over the country. I'm sure Utah has tons of chapters. Let me see if I can find it here. BNI Utah. Right. So that's the group. And what happens is that you go to a weekly meeting and you talk about your business for a short while, and you describe the exact person you'd like to meet. And then the other people in the group, they refer people to you, the same people you're looking for. So if you describe that you need an attorney working in Utah, so there'll probably be an attorney in the group, and then the other members in the group will all reach out to their attorneys and refer them to you. So that's a referral type. It's a referral type of business. That way you don't have to pay for advertising and run webinars and do online conversions. You get a in-person referral, You can talk to them on the phone, schedule the webinar, and just run with it. So there's a small fee here, but it's that I know for a fact that this is a very effective way that should bring in a lot of attorney referrals.
Okay.
Kelly, on LinkedIn, what you might want to do is have a couple of articles ready on your blog that describe the core concept and the benefit to the attorney. And what you can do is go back through the recording where we were interviewing you and you were describing the story of that, you know, the story of how well this works. And you want to write that up in a couple of articles and actually give them some information right there in the article. And then when you contact the attorneys through LinkedIn, what you want to say is, hey, I notice you specialize in this kind of law. I thought these 3 articles on how to win, you know, sciatica cases or caused by personal injury, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I thought you might want to take a look at it. Don't sell them at all. Don't ask them to contact you or anything like that. Just you know, ask for the connection. When you get the connection, point them to those articles, and a percentage of those people will read the articles and come back and talk to you about it.
Okay.
Right, and have a call for action at the end of each article. So if they want to learn more, they can call you, and that way they'll actually call you.
There's actually some, they're called, I think they call them flyers. It's through this organization that my husband's a part of, the training organization. And they have visuals and they have like short explanations. And their concept is to take these into an attorney's office and train monthly, train their staff monthly. Bring us in. It's free training. We train you about these concepts. And so they have those already ready. My thing is the time of him. If he has the time to go in monthly, that's fine, but I just didn't know that if we could just use that same concept and reach out, at least to get some interest before he starts going into all these offices. And just, you know, posting one, you know.
So that's a group that,
what you're talking about.
That's a group that provides monthly training to attorneys, and you can latch on to that and just go and give your spiel.
What did you say? Are you asking me or are you saying?
Yes, I'm asking you. Is that a group, what you just described, is that a service that goes into attorneys' offices and gives monthly lectures about stuff?
No, they don't. They provide you materials. They have a visual, and you can put your information on it. And it's a little. It's a good visual because it shows a piece of the vertebrae, and it points to it and explains what it is, and helps them understand how that can be affected.
Right. So yeah, you definitely want to get interest beforehand.
Okay.
Okay, so
right,
one last thing you can do is there are a lot of services that have attorneys' email lists. Attorneys usually they subscribe to some sort of information source about current law and new case studies and stuff like that. So the most popular one, I think, is Westlaw, but there are local information providers, and you can work with one of those to send out an email blast to their subscriber base and get people onto a webinar.
Okay.
Glenn? Yeah, that's
Glenn or Greg or whatever the name is.
Yeah.
Those are the best strategies that Greg has.
Good.
Thanks. Okay.
Kirsten, would you be willing to come back in a month or two to tell us what happened, how things turned out?
What I've been doing?
Yeah, and the results a bit.
Sure.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. So, thank you, Kirsten. Thank you, Greg. It's been a pleasure.
Bye, Joe.
I'm going to start calling him Greg because you keep saying that.
You know, it's funny. There was this girl in college, and to this day, I don't know if her name is Jennifer or Jill, because whenever I saw her, I called her the wrong name. And as I was approaching, I'd be thinking, Jill, no, Jennifer. But whatever happened, I'd always picked the wrong one, and I couldn't get it straight in my head. And so eventually she was just like, yeah, whatever.
She never liked you.
Oh, she loved me.
You wouldn't say her name right. I'm just kidding.
Anyway, this has been the very good Dr. Glenn Livingston with the inimitable Yoav Ezer, otherwise known as the Conversion Machine. And I think for today we're saying over and out. Please be sure to jump in and download the resources from thecustomermachine.com, and we will look forward to talking to you next time.
Thanks for your time and attention. For more information about the products and services we offer to help dramatically grow your business, please visit thecustomermachine.com. On behalf of Glenn and Yoav, thanks for listening.